I am Sun Tzu, born in the kingdom of Qi during the spring and autumn period of China, around 544 BCE. I have been known by many names, but the one that stands above all is the name Sun Tzu, meaning Master Sun. A title that signifies my life's work as a military strategist, philosopher, and author of the renowned treatise, The Art of War. My teachings have influenced countless generations, both on the battlefield and in broader fields of leadership, strategy, and governance. Though few details of my early years remain, I know that I was born into a world constantly at war. My family, descended from a military lineage, was accustomed to the volatile conditions of the time. My father, Sun Jian, was a skilled military officer, a figure of some renown in the state of Qi. While I was young, I was exposed to military strategy, governance, and the nuances of leadership. It was clear to me early on that life was shaped not by brute force alone but by wisdom and calculated decision-making. From the moment I could comprehend, I was drawn to the art of war, not merely the physical acts of fighting, but the intellectual mastery that lay behind it. I wanted to understand how one might govern a nation through the use of force, not as a dictator but with wisdom. Growing up in a state constantly embroiled in conflict, I was taught that true victory lay in understanding one's enemy and oneself. Early on, I studied both the military texts available to me and the philosophers of the day, from Confucius to Taoist masters, seeking the deeper meanings of strategy, balance, and human nature. These teachings laid the foundation for the art of war, the text I would later pen, a legacy that transcended mere martial practice. My path to prominence began when I offered my services to King Helu of Wu. By this time, I had spent years refining my military knowledge, traveling from kingdom to kingdom, learning the intricacies of their armies, and applying my theories on strategy. My name had begun to spread as a strategist, and it reached King Helu, the ruler of Wu, who was known for his ambition to bring his kingdom to prominence in the midst of a fractured China. When I was summoned to court, I was tasked with demonstrating my abilities to the king, who was unsure of my capacity to lead his armies. To prove my worth, I conducted a series of military drills, not only to train his soldiers, but to illustrate the principles of leadership, discipline, and coordination that I believed were key to victory. The drill was a striking success, and even the king's concubines were tasked with the role of army units, in a demonstration of how any group of people, with the proper leadership, could function as a cohesive whole. My ability to make the king's army more disciplined and organized marked a turning point in my career. King Helu, impressed by my tactics and knowledge, appointed me as a general in the Wu army. It was here, in the service of Wu, that I put my theories into practice. One of my greatest victories came against the powerful state of Chu. The battle tested my principles of warfare and strategic thinking, how to deploy an army not with sheer numbers but with superior intellect and timing. It was during my time in Wu that I began compiling my thoughts, which would later become The Art of War. The text I wrote is not just a guide for military leaders. It is a treatise on the philosophy of strategy and leadership. Its 12 chapters cover various aspects of war, from the importance of strategic planning, understanding terrain, and managing resources, to the necessity of deception, surprise, and psychological warfare. I did not write this book as a manual for the mere pursuit of power. Rather, I aim to offer a blueprint for understanding conflict, whether in battle, governance, or any aspect of human interaction. One of my central tenets was the idea that all warfare is based on deception. It is not enough to simply confront an enemy. One must create uncertainty in their minds, lead them to believe in a false reality, and strike when they least expect it. The principles I espoused in The Art of War stress adaptability, flexibility, and the need to understand both the strengths and weaknesses of oneself and one's adversary. I proposed that true military genius lies not in brute force but in understanding the fluidity of conflict, knowing when to strike, when to retreat, and how to adapt to the ever-changing tides of war. Above all, I wrote of the importance of winning without fighting, that the greatest victory is one in which the enemy is defeated before the first sword is drawn. The book emphasizes that victory is not an end in itself but a means to secure peace and stability. My belief was that war, while often inevitable, should always be conducted with minimal loss of life and resources. One of my most significant victories came during the Battle of Boju, where the Wu army faced a larger and more powerful force from the state of Chu. In this battle, I deployed a strategy that took advantage of the terrain, the morale of my soldiers, and the psychology of the enemy. The Chu forces, confident in their superiority, underestimated the tactical brilliance of the Wu army. I lured the Chu forces into a trap by creating false signs of weakness, making it appear as if Wu was retreating. This baited the Chu into pursuing us with overzealousness, and as they advanced, they became disorganized and spread thin across the battlefield. At the perfect moment, I struck with precision, taking advantage of their disarray. The outcome was a decisive victory for Wu, and it cemented my reputation as one of the greatest strategists of my time. As I grew older, I withdrew from active battle and focused more on imparting my knowledge to others. I returned to teaching and became an advisor to other rulers, including those of the neighboring states, who sought my counsel in matters of governance and warfare. I also spent time refining my thoughts and expanding upon the principles outlined in the art of war. My students included generals, diplomats, and rulers, and I passed on my insights with the hope that they would use them to bring about peace through strength, an idea that was central to my philosophy. In my later years, I continued to study the relationships between warfare, diplomacy, and governance. I believed that the wisest leaders were those who could use both military force and negotiation to achieve their ends. My teachings extended beyond the battlefield to politics, leadership, and the managing of people. I passed away peacefully at an advanced age, content with my life's work. I had lived long enough to see the lasting impact of my teachings on the world around me. The kings, generals, and politicians who sought my counsel had, for the most part, used my advice to elevate their realms and achieve their goals. But perhaps my greatest legacy lies in the art of war, a text that has transcended its origins. It has been used not only by military leaders but by corporate executives, politicians, and anyone who faces competition or conflict. The principles I outlined, deception, timing, flexibility, and understanding, are as relevant today as they were when I first wrote them. I am Sun Tzu, a man who lived and breathed the art of war. My life was dedicated to the mastery of strategy, the study of conflict, and the pursuit of peace through understanding. The art of war is my lasting gift, a work that will continue to guide future generations. I believe that true wisdom lies not in war itself but in knowing when to avoid it, and in understanding that victory, when achieved with minimal violence, is the path to peace. Let my life be remembered not just as that of a strategist, but as that of a teacher who sought to impart knowledge that could prevent unnecessary suffering, to bring balance, and to create harmony amidst the chaos of war.